Hey everybody, it's GoblinX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of the Brothers War. This is another flashback draft for the series of flashback drafts in the weeks leading up to Bloomborough. So Brothers War, very cool, very fun set with a lot of artifact nonsense, and our pack one pick one is going to be some of that. We've got a Platoon Dispenser, an incredible mythic to start things off. It's 5 mana for a 4/6 in any deck, but you really want to be playing white in it. And if you're playing white, you get to make a bunch of soldier tokens off this card so that it can trigger its draw card ability pretty frequently. And you can also unearth this later in the game. So very, very strong card and a super sweet way to start off the draft. Pick number 2, we have Energy Refractor, which is flexible mana fixing in the format. It lets you play all of these kind of artifact creatures that have some off-color unearth abilities, and you can maybe get to those unearth effects later in the game to get full value. So I do like Energy Refractor quite a lot, and it's a very flexible pickup. Like no matter what colors you end up in, you can play around with the Energy Refractor. I think this pack is weak enough to just take an Energy Refractor here. The other best options would be like Swift Spear. If we want to be a super aggressive red deck, that could be fine. Or like Bitter Reunion's a fine red card, but there's not a lot going on here, so I'm just going to grab the Energy Refractor. For pick number 3, we have some efficient black removal. This figure, it's only going to kill the small stuff, but it does it for only 1 mana at instant speed. You can also use it as a combat trick against bigger cards later. Blanchwood Prowler's pretty good. You get a little bit of self-mill, which works great with unearth effects. Obviously, we've got one of those already with Platoon Dispenser. So if we go green-white, that could be good. This is another pretty weak pack overall. I think that's about it that I would take this early. But Blast Runner has some pretty good synergies for aggressive red decks. There is a Rakdos Sacrifice deck that this works fantastic in. Take Prowler or Disfigure here. Not super pumped about taking either of those pick 3, but they're both pretty solid cards in their respective decks. I'll go for the Disfigure here. I'm a pretty big fan of the black-white color pair in the format. It's got a lot of good graveyard recursion stuff. Pick number 4. We've got another Unearth card with the Onulet. This one considerably weaker than our other one, but that's because this one's a mythic rare. Obviously, it's going to be pretty busted. This card is still pretty fine. That would be the card for sticking to white and black for now. Nothing super powerful off color yet again. We've got a Flow of Knowledge. If you're very deep into blue, this can be large card draw. But you got to be really, really glued to the color. Or there's like the Archaeologist here, another one of these cards that plays pretty well with Unearth. And this is just a great value play, just in general. 2 mana 0/3 draw a card. Yeah. Again, pretty weak pack. Onulet's usually a much later pick than this, so I'll speculate on the most flexible of the off-color powerful cards, and that would be the Archaeologist. Pick 5, another Energy Refractor here. Yeah, hopefully, the card quality picks up in future packs, but maybe I've been just drafting way too much Modern Horizons and Outlaws of Thunder Junction and stuff. These really juiced, really powerful formats. Well, there's a Combat Courier here, which I am a large fan of, and we do have one blue card already with the Archaeologist. This would up our Unearth count as well for any self-mill stuff like the Archaeologist. Although Emergency Weld is one of those pretty good graveyard recursion spells out of black, sticking to that color. Weld and Courier both look like great pickups here, but I'm going to take the Courier because even if we don't play blue, this is super playable. Because not only does it just like trump block and draw 1 card, but we have 2 copies of Energy Refractor already. So even without playing any islands, we can randomly unearth this in the late game to draw another card. Alright, pick 7 now. Trench Stalker would be pretty good if we go blue-black. We've already got the Combat Courier, some Energy Refractors draw us a card as well. And if we draw 1 card during our turn, then that counts as 2 or more cards in the turn, because we, of course, have our draw step, so Trench Stalker actually does play pretty well in blue-black. Juggernaut's fine for red. It's the best of these red cards. Infantry and Whirling Strike also fine. I mean, maybe it's not the best of them, but it has energy refractor synergies, so we could shove it into anything. So I think it would be the best pick for us if we're speculating red. But I'm going to stick black and take the Trench Stalker there. Blue-black draw 2 is a pretty solid deck, and Trench Stalker is excellent in that strategy. Alright, pick 8. Sentinel Stalwart is fun. It's green's version of like the energy refractor nonsense, but it's a lot better because you get to just straight up go up in mana instead of down in mana. You have to spend 2 mana to get 1 mana of any color with this. With this, you just straight up get that mana. You have to tap a random Powerstone or something like that, but that's usually pretty easy to do. Yeah, I mean, it's by far the best card in this pack, even if it is speculative from everything we've taken so far. One of the pretty nice things about this format is you can get really speculative because of the amount of artifacts that you end up in your decks. You're going to have plenty of cards that will fit in the deck no matter what colors you end up playing. Another Archaeologist looks good here because we got multiple Unearth cards. This is a decent value play up front. Stern Lesson also fine. All the red cards came back, pick 10. Could be something. Not really anything here. Pick 11. Filler blue counterspell. Filler white first striker. We've got more blue than white, but the one white card we have is really, really strong. I guess the nice thing about the Platoon Dispenser is like we can play it in any deck. We just can't unearth it particularly easily, but 2 energy refractors does already go a pretty long way towards the 4 mana activated ability on this thing. Just getting a single white source. And I just take the filler white combat trick here. Another one of the filler white combat trick. And let's see how pack 2 goes for us. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. Got a 3rd energy refractor. We've got a Machine Over Matter, which can be a very efficient bounce spell. Pretty easy for this to just cost 1 mana. Obstinate Baloth is just a great stat line for the mana cost. If your opponent happens to be playing any discard, you can just completely demolish them with it as well. You can also grab Combat Thresher for a pretty solid white creature. 3 mana 1/1 double strike draw card is already a good rate, and if you top deck it late, then you just get a bigger threat. Paratrooper's also a good white creature here. White really did not seem super open though. We just found military disciplines late, and that was it. I don't think I really passed up on any good white cards. Kind of think I'd rather be in like green here. Grab the Baloth. Got the Stalwart pretty late, got this Pallbearer literally last pick, and it's perfectly playable. Not that it's a super high pick, but getting a playable green card last pick is somewhat of a sign. So pack 2, pick 2. Scrapwork Cohort is pretty incredible, even if you're not playing white at the core of your deck. If you have cards like Energy Refractor and Sentinel Stalwart to unearth it, it's still going to play well. Just up front, 4 mana for a 3/1 and a 1/1 is already good. The Unearth is what pushes it over the top and makes it absurd, though. Huge fan of Scrapwork Cohort to the point where I will take it over Courier here, even though we're deeper into blue than whites. And I think we definitely take one of the colorless Unearthers over a colored spell like Opportunist or Felden, pushing very specifically in a direction. Since again, all these Unearth cards are playable in any deck, they're just going to be a little bit better when you have their color at the core of your deck. So pick 3 now. What if we pivot onto green-black here? Seeing an Overwhelming Remorse? I do like the green-black archetype too. We get to play the Stalwart for fixing, double Energy Refractor for fixing. Trench Stalker's still okay here with a couple Energy Refractors and a Combat Courier off of the splash. Yeah, I think Overwhelming Remorse is the strongest card in this pack. It's really, really efficient removal. It's going to exile whatever you hit as well to get rid of any Unearth or Graveyard Recursion shenanigans they could have. And it's often only like 2 or 3 mana. So Overwhelming Remorse is just an excellent card, and I'm going to take it here, and maybe we get to go green-black. You get to be just so flexible in these drafts. It really is a great feeling. that we've just like bounced around between so many potential strategies and we're still going to easily make playables by the end of the draft. Another energy refractor would be useful, but since we are very likely in green here, we can pick up Sentinel Stalwarts and energy refractors. I think we'll have less opportunities to find the Combat Courier. Excellent value play that also triggers our Trench Stalker and stuff, so we take that Combat Courier, and now there we go. There's our opportunity to take the Sentinel Stalwart. Although Gix's Caress does play pretty well. It's going to give us a Powerstone token we can use with our Stalwart. We can also just use this to cast any of our artifacts or abilities and stuff. Gix's Caress plays a lot better than it looks. So that is certainly an option, but I do like going all in on Sentinel Stalwart decks. They're pretty dang fun. Splash in all the Unearth in the universe, so I'm going to go all in on Stalwart. Pick 6, another Disfigure's fine. Not passing up on too much this time around. There's some very high mana value cards. Pick number 7. I'm not excited about either of the green cards, so I will take a Mightstone's Animation. It's a pretty powerful blue spell. You can throw it on an energy refractor. We still have enough blue spells that we should keep blue-black or green-blue in the back of our head here. Certainly another option. Pick 8. Pack looks pretty bad. Probably just take an Unearther, Juggernaut here. We're not going to be playing enough forests for Blanchwood Armor. I really wouldn't play that unless you're completely mono green. Just grab Juggernaut. Pick 9, we got another Energy Refractor. Although another Trench Stalker is certainly exciting. An Alloy Animist to just start beating people up with our Energy Refractors is something too, because it looks like we're going to draft them more highly than almost anyone else in the pod. I actually like the Alloy Animist. It also smacks people with Power Stones if we pick up some of those cards like Gix's Caress. The thing here is it's not even impossible for us to unearth the Platoon Dispenser now, because we have double Stalwart and double Energy Refractor. We could have 2 of those 4 in play at some point. Yeah, deck looks pretty good. Obviously, we need to find 7 more playables. Well, that's not bad. We've got a whole other pack to do it. And there's a few more picks here where we could still find a couple more playables in pack 2 as well. Alright. Another Juggernaut, I suppose. Perimeter Patrol would be okay. We kind of have a bunch of 1-drops, then no 2s or 3s, but we could spend turn 2 and 3 like getting a Refractor down, sacking the Courier, little stuff like that. We've got some random ways to use the mana. I'm going to take the Juggernaut. Alright, Emergency Weld is excellent value. It's not particularly good with all these Unearth creatures, obviously, because we can just unearth them anyway, but picking up a Baloth or a Pallbearer in the late game could be large. There is a really sweet combo with Emergency Weld with the Signpost uncommon for the color pair. We are in green-black, and our Signpost uncommon is a 4-mana 3/3 that when it enters the battlefield, you can sack another creature to destroy any permanent. So if you end up with that card in your graveyard, you get to pick it up, make a 1/1 soldier, then you play it and sack the 1/1 token you just made to blow up another permanent. It's really sweet. It's really sweet. So we'll see if we can find the Sickle Spider here for this deck. Might not be a bad Wasteful Harvest deck, actually. Very rarely would I ever play this card, but if we're the full-on Unearth deck, we might actually get some value just shoving a bunch of stuff in our grave. Alright, pack 3, pick 1. It's not a great pack. Pallbearer would be fine here. Powerstone Fracture would be fine here. Neither of which would be particularly exciting, but they're both certainly playable. I'll go ahead and go for the Powerstone Fracture. It plays pretty well with Emergency Weld and Energy Refractors and stuff. Like, if we end up with 2 copies of Energy Refractor on board, the second one's completely redundant, so that's the perfect kind of sacrifice fodder to ditch to the Powerstone Fracture. This also works well with Unearth cards in the late game. If we have a bunch of mana, we can unearth something and then also sack it, since it's just going to get exiled in the end step anyway. So there's some good ways to use the Powerstone Fracture in this deck. We'll toy around with it. This pack is not particularly good either. Not super good at diabolic intenting here. We've got a tiny bit of token production and a little bit of unearth. I guess when the other options are just not that strong, we can play around with it. Could main deck shoot down in this format? There's just so many artifacts. And our deck is weak to flyers, but we do have Powerstone Fracture and Overwhelming Remorse that can kill any creature. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we get to play around with Diabolic Intent here. Pack 3, pick 3. Our Gothian Sprite's pretty fine. We have a distinct lack of like 2 and 3 mana plays, and our Gothian Sprite fits in well there. Frontliner would be another Unearther, little miniature one. It's great for aggro, but we're not particularly aggressive. It's getting a lot of Unearth damage late game. We're playing big beef in the end. Self-Assembler is really good if you can get multiple copies of it, but that's very rare because it is one of the retro artifacts. There's only one of those per pack. I'm just going to take our Gothian Sprite here. Fill out a little more to do it, 2 and 3 mana. Pick 4. Another Alloy Animist looks okay. We're not great at using it, but there's really nothing else for us. Pick 5. Another Sentinel Stalwart, or another Trench Stalker up top. We have triple Refractor, double Stalwart. Don't really need more, but it does mean skipping all the way up to 4 or 5 mana even earlier, even more consistently. Combat Thresher is certainly splashable. It's always a 7 mana finisher no matter what, so that's an option too. I think I'm just going to grab another Stalwart. I cannot resist Sentinel Stalwart's wiles. Alright, Skyfisher Spider, join us. That's the signpost uncommon I was talking about. It is excellent with Emergency Weld in particular. And there's another Emergency Weld in this pack, which isn't going to come back, but maybe we can get one more Emergency Weld by the end of the draft. We got 2 more great opportunities. Here's Boulder Branch Golden. This card's excellent. It can just help you stabilize really well. A 6/5 plus gain 6. Flips the board state in your favor. That is the perfect kind of top end we'd be looking for, especially with triple Stalwart ramping us up now. Aeronaut Wings plays fine in this kind of deck. We can tap it to the Stalwarts for mana without actually spending anything, and then just giving one of our big top end beef cards flying is okay. I feel like that's going to play better than just a 3 mana 3/3. Not that it's a particularly exciting card, it's just that the 3 mana 3/3 really isn't. Another Pallbearer or the Wasteful Harvest. I'm already unsure about the first one, even though like I could play it here. I think it'll be great. I'm just going to take another Pallbearer. Really nothing here. Grab a Giant Growth. There's that Shoot Down I do think is main deckable. I don't think we're putting multiple Aeronaut's Wings in here. The first one's already one of the questionable cards. One of the potential cuts alongside the Aeronaut's Wings, the Giant Growth, the Diabolic Intent. Yeah, I'm going to add Shoot Down to the questionable pile. Just rare draft a Yotian Tactician. Grab just a little bit more nonsense. We will not be playing. Alright, so we're going to cut 7 cards here. Just go ahead and drop the maybe pile. And then for the Alloy Animists here, we only ended up with the triple energy refractor. We actually have 0 Powerstone production in here. And the Animist only works with non-creature artifacts. We can't even like turn a 1/1 artifact creature into a 4/4 or anything. So it's literally only 3 cards it'll ever actually activate on. So it's going to be just a 1 mana 1/1 a bit too often, I think. So I'm just going to drop those. Still one more cut to go. Maybe drop 1 energy refractor, maybe triple's a bit high. Although they do play pretty well with Sentinel Stalwart, they cycle themselves away no matter what, and we have quite a few off-color Unearth effects, and the potential to hit double white for Platoon Dispenser. Maybe we could drop a little bit of top end like this Pallbearer, although we've got the triple Stalwart ramp. So I definitely don't hate them. I mean, it is our last cut. It's not going to be anything we particularly dislike at this point. Maybe Juggernauts are mostly for aggressive decks. Can't do any blocking for us or anything. We could ditch one of those. And with triple Refractor, triple Stalwart, if there's anything super powerful off color, we can move something back into the deck. Like if I really want to play around with Mightstone's animation, that'd be okay, but again, we didn't get any Power Stones, it's just to throw on Refractors, or turn like a 3-1 or a 1-1 into a 4-4, which is good, but not great, maybe not splash-worthy. I don't know, I could see like drop both the Juggernauts, throw in animation, or just like drop one Juggernaut. Or we could like drop both and throw in an Aeronaut's Wings, that's another card to tap for Stalwart. And it gives these late game threats flying, which is kind of big. Yeah, I do think Juggernaut's probably the card that makes the least sense, that is the least synergistic with everything we're doing at this point. So we definitely cut at least one of them, but we could cut another one to throw something else back in if we really want to. In creatures, yeah, you know what, I don't mind dropping both of those and going for the wings or the animation. I'll go for the animation here. Be a fun little splash. We've got 8 green cards, 7 black, 1 blue. 9-8 split then. Yep, all the Unearths are just going to be off Refractors and Stalwarts. That's 6 sources for all the splashes. 6 sources for animation. Yeah, looks good to me. We will call it a deck here. Right, here we are on the play for game 1. Just curve out with our Gothian Sprite, see what happens from there. Keep it around with our emergency weld if they decide to do anything rude to it. Hey, Stalwart, you're a moment late, but that's fine. We don't need the mana from it right now anyway. Next thing we're going to jump up to is a 6-drop. Evolving Wilds getting cracked from our opponent. Finds a swamp. And they go for Yoshin Frontliner, nice aggressive 1-drop, but it's also an artifact creature, which means it cannot block our Argothian Sprite. We're at 5 mana next turn. Still not enough for Pallbearer yet. Full Esper from our opponent, but you expect to see some splashes with Evolving Wilds. Prison Sentence the Sprite, sure, that is locked down. I can still tap it for Stalwart, which is valuable. It being pacified on the board does get around our emergency weld, though. I'm holding up Overwhelming Remorse here rather than poking for a single point of damage, because things like that can happen. Alright. Well, these aren't great draws, but at least if Pallbearer dies, we just get it right back. So we've got 2 5/5 tramples in a row here, and that's how we're going to try to close out the game. Well, please don't be another prison sentence. If they can kill this, if it goes into the graveyard, we're fine. But if they can exile it or pacify it, we need to start hitting some non-lands. Alright, so double block is their best bet here. If I weld post-combat, I still don't have the mana to recast it immediately anyway, so let's see what Refractor hits before we make any decisions. It's a Boulder Branch. Alright, we definitely are good for the attack then, because we have another big threat. Alright, just hit for damage and pass. Opponent's racing. We'll take 6 and go to 12. They're at 13 right now, though, and we get the first swing. Well, we get the next swing. Boulder Branch is going to really ruin the race for our opponent as well. We're going to gain 6 and have a 6 power creature starting to beat down. It's going to be huge. They have like a scatter ray, we're pretty sad, but we don't have an alternate line here. It would just be play Courier and draw a card. I guess it's still probably better to do Energy Refractor there. Just in case somehow the prison sentence falls off. Because Energy Refractor does the same thing, whether it's tapped or untapped. I mean, they definitely have an instant. We've established that much. But Arena was holding priority for them before we even had a spell on the stack, so they have an instant that is not a counterspell. They may have a non-counterspell and a counterspell, but let's see. Disenchant is what it is. That's rough. Still gain all the life, which is nice, and now our emergency weld comes into play. But we did not draw a land last turn, so we can't like emergency weld and immediately recast the golem here. So the race is getting difficult now. I mean, I guess I can. Oh, okay, yeah, Cohort ruins the race. That card is just so good. But there's Obstinate Baloth. Alright, I was going to say I could emergency weld and play a 3/3 golem just to gain 3, but now I have Baloth to play instead. So we're going to be emergency welding, casting Baloth to be stable. Yeah, each player here has had some cards that have been disastrous for the race. Disenchant into Cohort for them to stop us, and now just, you know, Boulder Branch life gain into Baloth life gain to stop them. This is a wild game. But they are at 3 life. We're at 13. Obviously with another 6 to gain later. It's a stressful position, but I think we're favored on board. It depends on how good their spells are in hand. Exile the Trampler while we're tapped out to play around Gaia's Gift. That's a hexproof trick. That's a bold attack. 2 blockers up? If I top deck any removal, if I don't block, they're dead on board. Suppose this block is free, forces them to Unearth Frontliner next turn, soaks up 1 point of damage. And I could chump with Courier and still have a lethal crackback off of Unearth plus cast removal. I don't think I want to, though. So if I don't top deck into lethal, I'm probably casting Boulder Branch. Alright, that's lethal. On board. Unless their last card is exactly Disfigure. Let's see what it is. I'm going for it. And it is lethal. Might have been a little bit bold there, because I don't think like casting a 3/3 Boulder Branch would be enough to survive the crackback. Would it be? Let's see, they'd have to go Chump Baloth and then Disfigure, probably the Stalwart here. They go to 1. They have a 4/4 and a 3/2. I play a 3/3 Boulder Branch. Gain 3, I'm at 8. Oh yeah, no, that's enough to survive the crackback, right? So I can block there, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, no, never mind. We would take exact lethal if they did have Disfigure, because they can unearth both of these in one swing. Alright, well, I mean, they didn't have Disfigure, so... And in the game, a turn sooner that way. Might have been a little bit bold, though. I don't know. Played well for us, so I'll take it. We're 1-0 heading into game 2. Alright, nice slow hand for game 2, but I love me a Skyfisher Spider. Gotta find something to sacrifice to it, though. We've got the energy refractors to sack to Powerstone Fracture. And we've got a Disfigure to slow down our opponent's aggressive deck. Basically every red deck in this format is pretty aggressive. Red-blue, probably the least. Yeah, because Boros, Rakdos, Gruul, I'd say those are all probably more aggressive than blue-red, but blue-red is still basically aggro. Hey, Scrapwork Cohort, that is an excellent combo with the Skyfisher Spider. And obviously they're refractors, we can unearth it later, but most importantly it gives us plenty of expendable creatures to sacrifice for Spider's ability. Alright, our opponent's definitely not aggressive. They are 3 different colors, they're just playing a defender and setting up their draws here. They're trying to get to some high mana value rototypes. That was one of the other main mechanics in the format. There's these extremely high mana value artifact creatures, like these 8/8s and 10/10s and stuff, that have prototype costs, so you can play them as earlier, smaller versions. So you don't just get stuck waiting for your 10 drops. But that looks like our opponent's plan here. In this color trio, I would say they're probably just trying to get some really big artifacts. Especially with the Bulwark. There's a Latinam Adept. Not an incredible card, but good enough to Skyfisher here so we can just get this on the board. Stay aggressive. Put as much power toughness on the board as quickly as possible. And the Cohort threatens to trade with the Bulwark, and then it just gets unearthed for more value later if it does trade. The funny thing about Skyfisher Spiders, it does have a death trigger. You can exile it from your grave to gain a bunch of life, but the vast majority of the time in this format, at least for me personally, you just don't want to do that because black has good graveyard recursion spells like Emergency Weld, and this is an excellent card to bring back from your grave. So, I mean, it's nice to have that added flexibility. If you are against the really aggressive red deck and you just need to get some life gain to buy some time, you can. But Skyfisher Spider, the Wombo combo with Emergency Weld is just too good to exile it for a few points of life gain in your average matchup. Exile the Cohort. It's actually pretty sad. Exiling it specifically. I could disfigure in response if I really want to unearth it. That doesn't feel worth it, though. Because the unearth is just for one swing anyway. Could Powerstone Fracture Draftna. I feel like I might as well just disfigure it here. Cool. And then I can disfigure Bulwark to save Powerstone Fracture for something too big to get disfigured. Which they probably have in their deck. Nothing for now. Coilos Rock. Okay, that's a pretty fine trade. Now they're tapped out when we drop Platoon Dispenser. If we draw a cheap enough creature, we can play that and activate this ability to get the draw. And we can definitely unearth this later. It's going to cost us 6 mana instead of 4, but we can unearth it off of our energy refractors. Even just a single copy, you can repeat that ability any number of times. So we can get the double white for 4 mana. Blast Zone. And an arms race. Yep, that is definitely a deck about the gigantic artifact creatures. Unfortunately, did not draw a creature here. So I can only use this once. And I don't have enough creatures on board to draw the card. I could Powerstone Fracture. That's only creatures or planeswalkers. Never mind. It's like, should I Powerstone Fracture the arms race? I don't think so anyway, because of how much mana they have regardless. They're at 7 mana towards artifacts. So Blast Zone, eventually they can get enough charge counters on this to blow up our Platoon Dispenser. They could also blow up our Energy Refractors at 2, which would actually be pretty depressing. Because then we don't have the Platoon Dispenser on Earth, but I do have another Energy Refractor in the deck. And all it takes is 1 Energy Refractor to hit double white for us. Okay, they're going to pass turn here. Though they can arms race on blocks, I guess. Sure. I mean, I think this is just fine, right? Because they just trade their giant dragon engine for our Platoon Dispenser, and this thing doesn't unearth, but our dispenser does. It has 8 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, they could have just like hard cast it and ended up trading, so like they spend a card to trade into our card. I can't unearth this though. That's the sad part. And I can only get 1 more soldier. But yeah, now they can just blast zone the refractors. And then we don't get to unearth Platoon Dispenser unless we draw another refractor or 2 Sentinel Stalwarts. But hey, it's going to be 2 1/1s versus nothing. Let's go. Hey, Emergency Weld. They didn't blast zone the refractors. But I drew an Emergency Weld, so I mean, we're just going to do that. They don't have any way to exile our graveyard. This starts drawing us cards now. It draws us at least 1 card no matter what, and then if they don't have other removal for it, they're going to have to put enough counters on Blast Zone to just blow up the 5-drops. And then if they do that and blow up the 5-drops, that means that I get to keep my Energy Refractors on board, which means I do get to unearth the Platoon Dispenser for 1 last swing. That'll probably be enough damage to kill them, so this looks pretty good. Blast on the Platoon Dispenser, you got it. Bye, Platoon friend. Ooh, and then the huge card draw engine of the Temporal Anchor. pretty cool. Unearth and poke for 7 this turn. It's not quite lethal anyway, so I'm actually just going to make a big unblockable sprite. Save the Unearth for a lethal swing next turn. So they basically draw 3. Everything they scry to the bottom, they basically just get to draw that as well, is how the Temporal Anchor works. So Mightstones, Animation, Latinam Adapt, another card here. There's the Adapt. There's the Animation, that's 2 blockers. They should be super dead here. We get to kill 1 with Fracture. One of our 4 power creatures get in, and all 3 1/1s gets in, and that's lethal. Boop. 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 Wadoop. 7 damage swing. And that is 2-0 heading into game 3. Alright, game 3, let's go. I can tap a Stalwart to get mana out of the other Stalwart. Let's go. That's our black source. Alright, this hand makes a little more sense now. Now we're actually playing other non-Stalwart creatures. Turn 2 is going to be excellent, actually. Just ka-ching. Just drop Cohort next turn. Oh, no! Now Stalwart doesn't give me mana. So rude. Just actually using Stalwart as a 1-mana 1/1. Get in. Wing Commando. Really don't need to remorse that. Do not touch my scrapwork cohort. That is my best friend. Oh, please don't have that exile removal. Aw, the main deck shoot down. Gross. Well, we still win the race. Probably supposed to just draw the card on this, right? Our average card is probably better than a 1/1. Well, I'm glad I didn't do it yet. Because then they can just get rid of this from my grave. I guess that's only if the Recluse dies, specifically. Alright, let's draw the card here. Platoon Dispenser, that's a big boy. That's gotta be the play. Draws me extra cards here. I also kind of want to draw the Combat Courier card. While I know it's still engraved for me to unearth it. I can tap the Courier to pay for its own ability? That's sick. Boom, and now we draw yet another card. And we have the double white to unearth the Platoon Dispenser. These Stalwarts are just straight fire. This card is so good. When you draft around it, just put it in a random deck. It's going to be pretty whatever, but really good in this deck. Another Hoarding Recluse. That's going to be annoying, but we should outrace it. Exile it, I can get through here. I could play an Obstinate Bailoff instead of poking for 4 for future swings. They crack back for 4 here. Yeah. Alright, a little bit of stunning going on here, trying to outrace us. We're down to 10. Got my infinite mana here. Chump block Recluse all day long. I just gotta worry about this wing commando damage, really. Can Pallbearer and get a 1/1 soldier as well. Their own Pallbearer. Death Touch Trample's rough. Oh, they're just gonna go for extra flying damage. Fair. Fair enough. Perfect. There's the Powerstone fracture. Get that thing out of my life. This is a little bold, but I've got a 4/5 coming up on blocks. Really, the 5/5 trample is the only scary attacker now, and I'm going to have a 5 toughness blocker. I just blocked the 5/5 with a 4/5 and a 1/1, and we're golden. This only plays bad if they top deck removal, so it could be worse playing it real safe and playing around the top deck removal there. It's the Combat Courier to synergize with the Trench Stalker and gain me some life next swing. I think they probably do send the Pallbearer in here because that pressures me to have to lose the Trench Stalker. Otherwise, if I can get a life gain swing out of Trench Stalker, yeah, they have to worry about, like, will they ever break through? Because I go back up to 11 here. They kill 2 of these 3? They kill both my stalwarts. Probably not worth it. We just chump. Let's see what the top deck is. Gaia's Gift? Sure, that's a little extra damage to me, but I'm still very much alive. Their Pallbearer's alive too, but then they die. On the crackback, this has to be like at least 11. Oh yeah, that's well over it. And there's the concession from our opponent. It was some excellent stuff from the deck so far. I mean, we got to draw and cast our bomb mythic 2 games in a row there, so that's 2 of those wins, but hey, we'll take it. 3-0 heading into game 4. Here we are on the play for game 4. Sinnoh Stalwart doing its best impression of Birds of Paradise again, thanks to Energy Refractor. Haywire Might. Well, if they want to sack a Haywire Might to get rid of a card that already drew me a card, it's going to be pretty good for me. Because I have the second copy to make the first one redundant anyway. No blocks. Alright, Alright, they are not gonna sack the Haywire Mite. Now I've got 3 copies, so we're definitely good. But here comes Scrapwork Cohort, because this only hits non-creature artifacts, yep. The 1/1 body is gonna be great against their 3/1. And now I'm gonna have to finagle, get my shoes off while recording a video, because I had to do something mid-recording here. Obliterating Bolts, my Unearther again. Exile removal, so disappointing. Alright. Actually, maybe shouldn't have made that trade, considering it only hits non-creatures. Yeah, I think I was just scared and treating it as straight-up artifact removal again. I was like, but they could, like, exile my Boulder Branch Golem. No, they can't. Alright, well, no matter what, Platoon Dispenser's gonna draw us a card again. 6 mana. Don't think it's worth playing a non-large Boulder Branch here. Should have the mana for another Energy Refractor. Yeah. Cool. And now we get to draw the Platoon Dispenser card. There's Powerstone Fracture to give us some use. 5 power. Let's send the attack in. And then we can Boulder Branch Golem next turn. Things are looking pretty great. I mean, just the fact that they didn't have removal to kill Platoon Dispenser immediately has already put us quite a bit ahead, because the card is busted. If we find a victory here, this is going to be like our 4th victory off of mainly Platoon Dispenser. No life gain. Cindermaw is pretty annoying for Boulder Branch Golem. In fact, I don't mind fracturing that. I do still have 2 additional creatures, even if they kill this 1/1, and I only need 1/1/1 to hold off their 3/1. So I think this is probably the best attack. We're still at 17 here, and we have 6 life gain in hand. We're not really worried about the counterattack. Now they could give Chain Dancer double strike and double block to kill the Platoon Dispenser, so we're just going to drop a Boulder Branch and keep staying miles ahead in card advantage for the most part. 5 to that? Sure. Just keep drawing my cards. Skyfisher Spider breaks things. Breaks the board state, gets us through. Sorry for all the chair sounds. Should have taken a little bit of a longer break in between game 3 and game 4. Running an errand in the middle of the recording session. Dies mill 4. They could get some Unearth value off of that. I think I'll hit the Chain Dancer first, actually. Trench Stalker, that's going to be a good one. Could weld back Boulder Branch Golem, but I could also save it for Platoon Dispenser. Because what, I mean, they could wipe their board to kill Platoon Dispenser here, and then I just pick it back up. Oh my god, and the disfigure is going to make things just so horrible for them if they already weren't bad enough. Ooh, pallbearer too. Let's do it. Sure. I wish it held up more black mana than this. I guess it doesn't really matter with Stalwart. Just makes it easier to weld to Disfigure if we needed to. But we definitely didn't need to. That was just insane platoon dispenser stuff. We drew so many cards off that thing. We were miles ahead from the get-go, and now we are 4-0 heading into game number 5. Here we are on the play for game 5. This is probably our worst keep so far. We need to find good mid-range. We have a 1-drop into 2 6-drops. That's the course of the game right now. And that it shall remain. All lands for the draws so far. Which is not useless. We do need these to get to the 6-drops. Would have preferred to find the cheap spells first. There's no artifacts on board for the animation. I can't even cast an emergency weld without a target in my graveyard. So these have been just as big of misses as possible. The worst potential draws. 0 castable spells. Oh, there's the Aeronaut's Wings too. Probably just dead then. Because now even if we do draw something that matters, they just hop things into the sky for the last little bits of damage. Yeah, I mean, that's a nightmare. I got Gaia's Gift too. You got me. Kept a risky hand and we got maximum punished. As simple as that. We are 4-1, moving to game 6. Alright, game 6, we have pretty big problems if they blow up the energy refractor or if they're super aggressive because they did manage to be on the play here. But we'll see. We are green-white. White's pretty aggressive. And the sprite getting past all of our artifact creatures is rough. I do have a 4/4 non-artifact creature coming up. If I can find a forest. Probably on Disfigure and then Chump Sack here. Just gonna do it while they're tapped out. There's no way I can afford to Powerstone Fracture this energy refractor. Could Powerstone Fracture away the Combat Courier, but we have much better sacks for it coming up just off of Cohort. Boulder Branch Golem is a 3/3, alright. That's aggressive, but I'm cool with it. Fourth black source. Well, there we go. There's a green. So now we cohort and trade that into one of their 3/3s. We fracture the 1/1 away. Next turn I have the 5 mana to animation something. I guess I could animation the soldier instead of refractor, so I'm not putting the refractor at any risk. We do need it for these double green spells. As well as our Unearth. Yeah, maybe we're just playing an Obstinate Baloth next turn. Killing the actual 3/3, because I don't want to like kill this one and then have them find Graveyard Recursion to then play it as a 6/5 on me. Okay, this guy is Courser Matters quite a bit. So we may be on Powerstone Fracture at this point. A mana off from everything I want to do. I guess we just take 3 then. I'm also a mana off from Unearthing Cohort and sacking it to the Fracture. I kind of want to get Stalwart down then for the turn because the mana situation. I could unearth the Courier and sack that to the Fracture, but I can also just draw a card whenever I unearth the Courier later instead, which feels better. Yeah, I'm going to sack this 1/1 Soldier. Let the 3/3 hit me for another turn. Have a much better mana situation next turn. Cool. Start playing 5/5s while I can. I don't mind it. I kind of want to get all the double green cards out of the way before I cast Animation, because I'm probably going to Animation the Refractor, so... Sure, you can Giant Growth my Pallbearer. I'll take a 1-for-1 trade. Yep. I trade my 1 Pallbearer for your 1 Giant Growth. That's a card for a card. I think the mana tempo doesn't really matter at this point. Our opponent's already actively just not spending 5 extra mana a turn. So trading a 1-drop with a 6-drop doesn't actually really matter. It's about the entire card economy that matters. So 1 card for 1 card is perfectly reasonable. Using Wormlet can take things over. Looks like they don't have another Giant Growth. Hmm. "16 life here? Do I actually just flip the tempo on them and just go full aggro? Kind of want to do that. I don't even think it's that bold. They have 4 power on the board and we're at 16. Gaia's Gift here. Yep, fair enough. Card for a card. If they kill the Stalwart, that'll be bad. Just the Wormlet coming in. Alright, so Cohort won't get attacks in anyway. So we pick up the Courier this turn then. I guess I might as well. Because they might want to trade with Baloth, then we do get 1 damage off of it and draw the card. We do want to trade with Baloth. Another refractor, so if Stalwart dies, we've still got a way to get the stuff back, which is great. Alright, cool. Cohort does actually get an attack in now. Get the Argothian Sprites summoning sickness out of the way. 1 mana off from unearthing this and drawing another card. It's 2 mana to get our blue. But yeah, I mean, we just grind out so much value off the unearthed shenanigans. And just really outgrind the long game there. We are now 5-1, guaranteed to be in the money out of this draft as we head into Game 7. Alright, we're on the draw here, but we've got a nice early disfigure. Well, if their deck is anything like ours, disfiguring that Stalwart should be a #1 priority. It's our Argothian Sprite turn 2. Got an emergency weld, nothing to weld up yet. Alright, Sprite into perimeter patrol. Pretty aggressive curve. Yeah, I mean, they fill on 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop on us. It's looking sketchy, but we have a very powerful hand if we can stabilize with it, and multiple pieces of life gain to help do so. But we're under a lot of pressure on the play. 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Do they have another 3-drop to keep the curve rolling in? No. Alright, we got a little breathing room, which feels good. We did miss a pretty pivotal land drop here, so I can't just platoon dispenser them. Believe we just get a 4/4 gain 4 here. Yeah, they need to play an artifact to send in with the patrol here. One issue with this is they likely have removal being green-black. But we do have the emergency weld. We need to hit some lands for that to be particularly valuable for us, but we're only 1 land draw away from being able to weld up the Baloth and immediately recast it. So here's Platoon Dispenser. It's a 4/6 to block their 4/4, and more importantly, it's going to draw us a card immediately, so even if they kill it next turn, it has replaced itself. Sick. We're looking stable here. They have no removal in hand. Then we're just golden. I mean, we're living in magical Christmas land. We just keep passing and drawing extra cards, holding up the ability to make a soldier, or cast an overwhelming remorse if they destroy one of our creatures. Feel incredibly stable here. Transmigrant's Crown's not even going to change that. They can buff one of their creatures up, and if it dies, they draw a card, but I can just make a soldier and chump each turn. Keep them from drawing anything, but also keep them from killing anything on our board. Or damaging us too hard. Let's Boulder Branch it up. Wait. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is going on? Oh, I accidentally clicked that Energy Refractor. I have to do that and then click Energy Refractor. Never mind. I was like, what went wrong there? That's what went wrong. I guess I don't have a soldier trump here, but now I just take the hit. We get ready for counterattacks. Whitestone's animation too. I am 1 mana off the Overwhelming Remorse. They trade with one of these creatures, they draw a card, but then our Overwhelming Remorse is active on blocks. They could dump all their mana into Sprite to trade into another one, but they are not going to do that. Cool. There they go. Sprite is up to 4/4 stats. Show me that Gaia's gift. There it is. Still doing great. It's a 5 toughness creature now, though. Got the emergency weld if they do have the giant growth to kill Platoon Dispenser, or the disfigure, or anything like that. It looks like they do. Alright. Even without the emergency weld, we can get a big Unearth swing out of it. Very nice. Powerstone Fracture the Baloth, drawing a card by sacking Chromatic Star. And a Scrapwork Cohort for just an army of blockers over there. And they still have the mana up to throw the crown onto the cohort, draw a card when they block. Looks pretty good. Go for damage here, just go for the board of Weld into Dispenser. Let's get wide. Let's Weld Dispenser. There's a cohort of our own. Well, there goes Platoon Dispenser again. Demon, just a little more card draw still. Kind of like trying to get Death Touch Trample off this Trench Stalker. So we cycle away a Combat Courier for our second draw of the turn next turn, and then we throw Trample onto Trench Stalker, and that should just be the kill if I attack with everybody. Maybe even through an Obstinate Bailoff, maybe not. The Bailoff is a huge draw though, that life gain. It's a big deal. Okay. Death Touch, Trample. Eight power. I mean, I gain 1,000,000 here, so do we want to kind of just see what happens? Oops, I did the wrong thing again. Let's see what happens. Whatever. Math is for blockers. They definitely can't crack back for lethal at 17 plus 8 here. And it should be very difficult to survive, because 8 power of Death Touch Trample. Oh, it doesn't give Trample. Never mind. Well, they're not dead. But we're definitely not dead either. Shoot. I forgot this card doesn't give Trample. It's a weird design. Feels like it does, because it has Trample. Whoops. Oh, they can sack it as well to stop the life gain because we don't have Trample. We might just lose because we don't actually have Trample there. Like I thought we did. I don't have another Emergency Weld in this deck, do I? No. Because I still gained that life. Well, that was pretty bad. No! Boulder Branch gained 6. This game will continue for another couple centuries. Okay, getting our own Argothian Sprite's actually a big one. We're close to being able to activate that 2 times per turn. So we want to rip away their best non-artifact blockers. So we Powerstone Fracture the Argothian Sprite. Now we're just kind of trying to clear a path for our Gothian sprite. Ripping some blockers out of the way while they can't draw any cards off of them. Nine cards left. Actually just gonna keep these in grave. I'm not gonna draw any more cards right now. I'm getting slightly concerned about decking. Ashnod's Harvester. Could start exiling my Unearth stuff. But they have no blocks for our Gothian sprite, so we just get to start sending that in. Okay. We're going for it. Just need them to not draw removal in those top two. We can jam in for somewhere between 6 and 10 damage this turn if we want. Healseeker draws a card, Refractor draws a card, so we needed no removal in the top 4 at this point. Looks like so far so good. Just a perimeter patrol, which is also just a chump for the Argothian sprite. Cohort is our best card in grave for them to exile right now. Yep, there they go. I guess they can double block and force me to pay the 7 here. Don't mind. Oh my god. It's probably our biggest draw left in the deck. It's the pallbearer there. Yeah, they'd probably be dead right now if we didn't make that punt attack. Thinking that the pallbearer gave trample. At least we knew for the second time around, because of what happened the first time. If they lose this perimeter patrol, they are just dead. I only need to activate this one more time for it to be lethal, so as long as I have 7 up, I'm good. Eight, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we're good. Take 7 damage, they go to 2 life. Don't know how they survive another turn of this. Unless they have something that mills us, which I could play around by not cracking couriers, because I'm pretty sure my deck is basically entirely lands at this point. Alright. That game was probably way harder than it needed to be because I misremembered Gnarlroot Pallbearer as giving trample earlier there, but we still managed to get there in the end. Our opponent fought really valiantly because they were facing a platoon dispenser that had popped off for several turns in a row. So like we were so far ahead in cards, but they still stuck it out till we were both almost out of cards in library. So really valiant effort from our opponent. But even through all the punts, our deck was just too busted. Mythic Rare did too much work, and we are now 6-1, heading into the final battles with 2 rounds in the chamber. Alright, here we are for what could be the final boss. We're going to keep this, but we do need to draw some 2 or 3 mana plays. Hopefully like our Energy Refractor and some lands would be the best draws. The Energy Refractor, so Stalwart taps for mana. We've got an excellent 4-drop to help stabilize us, and then the 5-drop to win the game. And we are on the draw here, which definitely helps for this hand that needs lands pretty badly. Combat Courier is the draw. That's enough to get the Sentinel Stalwart to tap for mana, but it looks like they've got Disfigure here. They don't want to Disfigure Stalwart yet, though. I don't remember the other 1 black mana instance, if there are any. I would be super surprised if our opponent didn't want to just Disfigure Stalwart. So it's probably something other than Disfigure. Alright, there's Skull Flayer. Welcome. Doing great on our draws. We hit the creature we needed to tap for Stalwart, and we hit the land we needed to get to play a 4-drop on turn 3. And that can make us real stable. Ashnod's Intervention is what it is. If it dies, it comes back to the hand. So we just take the damage then. Oh, that's cute. They're going for Thraxidemon combos. That is very cute. There's our own Disfigure. I do think I would rather Disfigure their Thraxidemon than drop a 3/3 Boulder Branch right now. Although I'm also going to crack Courier so that if we have a land for turn, we get to play it. Perfect. It requires tapping our Obstinate Baloth, but we can play our Platoon Dispenser next turn now, and now it doesn't require tapping Obstinate Baloth. So we'll certainly do it. I'm not scared of Titania, so I'm not going to hold up Overwhelming Remorse for her. She doesn't really do anything unless they have the Argoth Sanctum of Nature. Then we do just die. But if they don't have the Mythic Titania and the rare land that goes with her, she doesn't really do much. And there's the concession from our opponent. We just dropped our own Mythic that is considerably stronger than theirs, and they know it's going to take over the game, so that brings us to 7-1. A very nice, very positive record for our return to the Brothers War Premier Drafts, grabbing maximum value. 2,200 packs. No, 2,200 gems and 6 packs. Could you imagine? I wonder if there's anybody that has 2,200 packs of one set in their account. They've just never opened them and they just bought 1,000,000. That'd be crazy. Yeah, this was a super sweet, super fun deck, and we got to show off Energy Refractor Unearth synergies that I love in like any colors, no matter what you're doing. I love taking these refractors and the unearthing artifact creatures pretty highly because they are quite valuable. Now, the best of them are the Scrapwork cards, so Scrapwork Cohort and Scrapwork Mutt. Those are the absolute MVPs, but Combat Courier is very close to as good as those, and there's a pretty big drop-off from there. The Mishra's Juggernauts, we obviously ended up cutting those, and we didn't even draft the Takesia's Onulet. And I think it's mainly because like the Juggernauts and the Onulet and stuff are just pretty high mana to get on the board in the first place, and then pretty high mana to unearth later as well. But these Scrapwork cards and the Couriers have like pretty cheap abilities, mostly enter the battlefield style abilities. These are the ones you take really, really highly, and you're always super, super happy with them. So got to give you all some nice tips for the return to Brothers War if you're playing any of these drafts yourselves. And that is something that you can take and do in any color pair now. Obviously, it's the easiest to do when you're playing green because you also have access to the Sentinel Stalwarts, but I'd recommend Energy Refractors in most decks in the format. And they did help pilot us to a 7-win run. So, nice return to Brothers War. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.